Why has the hurricane season been so slow? Good evening, I'm Mike Naso with this Saturday night update on the tropics. We are approaching the climatological peak of the Atlantic hurricane season, which is ordinarily around September 10th or so. And even though we started off very strong with Hurricane Beryl and Hurricane Debbie and even Hurricane Ernesto in areas of Bermuda, we have had the longest stretch of quiet this time of year in a hurricane season since 1968, and I'm going to try and explain why we think that might be happening. Now, here's a satellite loop of the last week, and I'm going to put this into motion. This is a week ago, and watch carefully there off the coast of Africa. Nothing really seems to be progressing from east to west. It's all kind of just there. It's like just constantly in the same spot, very slow motion. Watch the wave right in here. This is a week ago. And watch where it moves in the last week. Pretty much in the same spot, right? There's not a lot of motion. And that's because the wind pattern is just not favorable. The switch really seems to have flipped sometime in late July, early August, and a lot of these waves aren't even making it off Africa far enough south to develop. Now, there's some signs that that's coming to an end. We're starting to see this wave look a little better, this wave look a little better, and we're also watching this area in the Western Gulf, which could become a feature for the United States, and I'll talk about that. But I gotta say, this hurricane season has been really a head scratcher for many of us. Now, here's the tracks of the storms we've had so far, and we started with Alberto into Mexico, normal June storm. Then we had Hurricane Beryl, a very rare early July Category 4 strike on the Windward Islands, Category 5 over the Caribbean Sea, Category 4 as it buffeted around Jamaica, and then boom, right into the Yucatan as a Category 2 hurricane, and then it slammed into Texas, causing a lot of problems. Hurricane Beryl is a historic, long-tracked, memorable hurricane. So after that, in early July, it was like, oh man, if we have a Category 5 coming off Africa in early July, just wait until August. And then we had Chris into Mexico, a weak tropical storm. Then came Debbie. Debbie was a hurricane into Florida. Then came Ernesto. Ernesto was a hurricane into Bermuda. And we thought, okay, we're going to really get going. And it just shut down. Since 1968, we never saw this kind of quiet during the heart of the season in late August and early September. And a lot of it has to do with the coast of Africa and these waves just moving way too far to the north, just not favorable. Taking a look out there today, we do have our system. We're watching our new invest here, which has merged with this invest area south of Louisiana. It's going to all kind of merge together. And the models insist that this is going to pull to the northwest towards Texas and maybe even north-northeast towards Louisiana as a tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane. But it's pretty close to the shore right now. I'm skeptical when they get this far south in the Bay of Campeche that they ever will come north. You need a lot of strong steering currents to pull it out, but that's what the models show, and we might see that. We also have a new invest area we're watching here, which could mill around out there and then eventually move west-northwest and become a feature we'll watch, and then a wave behind it. Both these waves have moderate chances from the National Hurricane Center, which is more activity than we have had. Another wave down here, we'll see if this leaves Africa at this latitude, because other waves have been pushing really far to the northwest. Wind shear has also been kind of unfavorable. Anytime you see these yellows and oranges and reds, this is unfavorable wind shear, and it is all over the place here. And that is not what you want to see in the heart of hurricane season. And that was really unexpected with all the experts, even the amateur people. I mean, even me. And we looked at the pattern and we thought, man, we're going to get slaughtered. And there was nothing to make us think any differently really until the middle of August, August 25th. And then it was, uh-oh, something's going on here. And the days and the weeks flew by without anything in the tropics, and that's just not a harbinger of a busy season. But the official forecast does say they expect it to be backloaded. Remember, Hurricane Ian devastated Fort Myers September 22nd. You know, we've had many hurricanes in October, November, so don't let your guard down now. A Category 5 hurricane hit Florida, Mexico Beach, Panhandle in 2018. That was October 10th, 2018. So we still have a long way to go and a lot to watch. Now here's the area we're watching in the Gulf, and again, right in this region is where it's going to merge with this feature to the north, or so the models say, and kind of come together and then move to the northwest. I'm skeptical. I'm being a skeptic after how slow the season's been, because it's so far down there. It's practically on the coast of Mexico, and if it buries itself in, it could weaken and fall apart. But the models insist that this thing is going to pool on northwest, but they're initializing the low pressure away from that ball of convection. The low's actually a little bit to the east of that convection. So again, it should kind of get its act together and pool towards the northwest and then eventually the north. And these are the GFS ensembles that take it towards Louisiana, maybe the Texas coast. So again, it could get close to Texas and then kind of pivot to Louisiana. This is the European ensembles, pretty much the same thing here, kind of milling around. But again, this is 3, 4, 5 days out, so we do have time to watch it. I think the main threat would be heavy rainfall along areas of the Mexican, Texas, and Louisiana coastline. Our other area of invest out there that I showed you, look again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days this stuff could be out here. There's no conveyor belt motion. I mean, I'm sounding like an old timer. When I was a kid back in '98, wave would leave Africa, boom, 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 boom. You saw Burl, left Africa, hurricane, major hurricane, slams in the islands, goes on. That's the way it's supposed to be. We are definitely in a strange pattern here where these waves are kind of milling around and then kind of looping around and doing all that. Unusual, but we could still get a storm out of it, and hopefully this one would turn out. It looks like it wouldn't get far west, although some of these models show that it could get close to the Caribbean. We'll watch that. Looking off the coast of Africa now, here comes a wave. Okay, that's a good wave, good spin to it. If this wave follows that line, it could do something. But look at this wave up here. This is over, I mean, we are used to seeing these waves leave Senegal in West Africa over here. This is Mauritania. This is the Sahara. We don't get the waves that far north. That's been a big problem. Instead of these waves leaving here, they're pushing up here. And that is just so different. I mean, you're not going to have a hurricane develop off the Sahara. You're going to have it develop down here. And so even though that doesn't look that different, that is hundreds or thousands of miles difference. And that makes a big difference in hurricane development. Not to mention there's been a lot of dry air out there. So unfavorable conditions, and that's why the hurricane season has been so slow. And everybody was wrong on this one. I mean, across the board. I mean, everybody. There was nobody saying, "Oh, I think it's going to be a slow year." And when we had a Category 5 Hurricane Beryl in first week of July, and then we had, Beryl hit America, hit Texas, then we had another hurricane hit Florida, then we had Ernesto hit Bermuda. It was like, okay, we're going. But boy, the last month really shut off. But anyway, here's our invest there, and this is another wave we're watching. We'll watch as these waves leave Africa. This is where the matches are going to drop in the fuel, and it could be a backloaded season. I mean, I've seen hurricanes spinning off Africa into late September, so it's still September 7th or 8th. You've got time to watch it. The ensemble models of the European, they show our system here in the Gulf going there towards the Gulf Coast, and then the waves out here kind of turning away, most of them. And then the GFS model, sort of the same thing, although they want to bring our systems here a little bit further to the west, but nevertheless also an impact for Texas and Louisiana. So we're going to watch that carefully. So that'll do it right now for the tropics. It's been quiet. Whether or not it stays that way remains to be seen. If you're in Texas, Louisiana, along the Mexican coast, keep an eye on the Gulf of Mexico. We could have a tropical system develop there in the next couple of days. I'm Mike Naso, and I'll talk to you next time.